Good morning, Algebra 2 students. This is the first in a series of videos that we're going to be using as we study the basics of trigonometry. So in today's lesson, we're going to focus on using trigonometry with right triangles. So first off, I'm going to ask you to consider a right triangle that has an acute angle theta. So acute is a word that means less than 90 degrees. Theta is this Greek symbol. You're going to get used to seeing this symbol. Usually in algebra we use x as a variable. Once we get into trigonometry and we're talking about an unknown angle, we use this variable instead, theta. So it's a Greek letter. Anyways, the three sides of this right triangle in comparison to theta are as follows. We are going to be looking at the hypotenuse, which is the long side of the right triangle, and it will always be found opposite the 90-degree angle. So that's the longest side. The next side that we're going to look at is the side that is opposite theta. So opposite means if theta is in this corner right here, this is the angle that I'm working with. The side that is opposite, across from it, this is what we're going to label as the opposite. Okay. Now that could change. If all of a sudden theta, I was talking about this angle up in the top corner, suddenly this shorter side would become the opposite side. The final side that we're going to reference is the side that is adjacent to theta. Adjacent is a word meaning next to. So in this case, my third and final side of my right triangle will be right here. This is the side that is adjacent, right next to angle theta. Using those three things, we can use ratios of a right triangle side lengths to define the 6 trigonometric functions. And those trig functions are as follows: sine, cosine, tangent, and those are the three that you are probably the most familiar with. Those are the three that you would have worked with in Algebra 1 or geometry. And then perhaps you would also know the next three: cosecant, secant, and cotangent. And those are all reciprocals of the three that we are used to. Now to define each of those, we like to use a mnemonic device. So SOHCAHTOA is a phrase. It's a mnemonic device that you probably learned at some point in your math career, whether it be algebra or geometry. So I'm just going to quickly review what SOHCAHTOA means and use it to help us define the 6 trig functions using sides of a right triangle. So the sine of theta, using our mnemonic device here, so would be sine is equal to the opposite side over the hypotenuse. So I'll write that in. Sine is opposite over hypotenuse. Cosine then, in SOHCAHTOA, ka being AH, well that means the cosine of theta is equal to the adjacent side over the hypotenuse. Tangent then, the TOA of SOHCAHTOA, TOA being O and then A, that means tangent is equal to the opposite side over the adjacent side. Now SOHCAHTOA is the mnemonic device that we use to remember sine, cosine, and tangent. Now to remember the other three, which are cosecant, and again notice how cosecant is written when it's written in shorthand. We go CSC for cosecant, SEC for secant, and COT for cotangent. Now, with these, I don't necessarily have a great mnemonic device for you, but the key is to remember that they are reciprocals of the one that is directly related to it. Now, reciprocals means I'm going to take it and I'm going to flip it over. So, if I want to know what the cosecant of an angle is, well, cosecant is the reciprocal of sine. So that means cosecant is going to be equal to the hypotenuse over the opposite. Secant is the reciprocal of cosine, so that's going to be the hypotenuse over the adjacent side. And finally, cotangent is the reciprocal of tangent, so that would be equal to the adjacent side over the opposite side. Now, in past years, some of my clever students have come up with mnemonic devices for this. Instead of SOHCAHTOA, we have CHO, SHA, KO. Now, if that's something that you can remember easily, that's wonderful. That's not something that necessarily works for me, but if I know SOHCAHTOA, I can find the reciprocals to find these. If CHOSHAKEO is something that you're interested in using, please feel free to do so.